Hello everyone, I'm Pete Trego and welcome again to the Clubhouse. Hope everyone's coping well. We're into week 5 of isolation. As you can see, I've been tearing my hair out. It's my 4th haircut in 5 weeks, going along fine, but I hope you're all enjoying yourselves and enjoying the shows on the Clubhouse today. Very special guest, a teammate for a short period of time with the England Lions, but he's gone on to far better things than your presenter has. It is World Cup winner Chris Woakes. Hi, Wokesy. How are you, mate?
Hi, Trig, mate. Yeah, all good. Thanks. Great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Well, you look like you're coping with isolation from a styling point of view far better. Is the missus a hairdresser or something? You're looking sharp.
You know what? She has touched up the sides over the last couple of days, which I was very, very wary about. But you know what? I'm happy with what she's done. Actually, it's, don't get me wrong. It's getting a bit long on top, but I didn't trust her with the top. To be fair.
You got to embrace it, mate. I did the same. I had a little hack round the other day and then ended up having to press the old reset button. So I'm looking like a baked bean at the moment. But like I said, no one's going to see it, are they? So who cares?
Well, exactly, mate. I could end up following your messes up next time.
Yeah, mate, you're far too pretty for that. But obviously, we're into week 5. The country's been in lockdown. Cricket's in lockdown. What have you been doing with yourself to pass the time?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everyone's in the same boat, aren't they? It's a bit of a nightmare we've got ourselves in, but I suppose it can't be helped. But yeah, just trying to stay fit, mate, as much as I can. Really, done a bit of running out on the roads, which the old knees aren't too happy about. Trying to get some cycling in, and just try and do as much as I can in the garage as well, with a few bits and bobs. I could do with borrowing your home gym, mate. To be honest with you. To try and get back up to proper nick, but just trying to keep fit. And we never know when they're going to obviously hit the button where we can give it a go again. So just trying to maintain some fitness and obviously stay sane as well. Obviously not being able to get out, but got a little baby girl who's nearly 2 who's keeping me on my toes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously lucky here, got the gym and stuff. I mean, the old adage though with bowlers though, nothing gets you fit to bowl than bowling. That's been the biggest challenge. I mean, I've got a cricket club just down the road, and I'm doing a few run throughs and stuff like that. But obviously, we could go from 0 overs a week to 20 to 50 overs a week. I mean, that's going to be it's going to be pretty hard to train for. But have you managed to get out on grass at all in this 5-week period?
Yeah, so I've been out. There's a park literally around the corner, so I've been able to run around there and get on the grass occasionally, just to do some sprints and stuff. Really, I actually haven't picked up a ball or bat, as I'm sure maybe you'll be in the same boat. But yeah, with cricket, obviously not looking to start until at least the 1st of July. I'm kind of trying to use the break wisely. Really, try and recharge the batteries, get away from the game a little bit. Obviously, it's a forced break, but the same time, try and recharge the batteries mentally, and probably look at bowling when we kind of maybe get a bit of a date in mind. But yeah, I'm quite enjoying the relaxed side of it and trying to get away from the game a little bit. But at some point, I'm gonna have to try and find a way to get that load back in the legs. And like you said, bowling fit is tricky to kind of get back to, isn't it? Really, because the only way of doing it is by actually bowling and spending time on your feet.
Exactly, mate. Yeah, I reckon I'd probably look all right in a pair of Speedos at the moment, but bowling a 10 over spell, I think I might struggle, especially in Speedos.
Yeah. Well, mate, I tell you what, people think we stand around in the field all day, which we pretty much do. But more than anyone, standing in the field all day is actually pretty hard work at the end of it, isn't it? You certainly feel it in the legs.
Yeah, I mean, I really got into the science of sort of bowling because I actually got fed up with other sportsmen mates of mine. Oh, it's easy. All you do is like stand in the field and eat cucumber sandwiches and all that sort of stuff. And so I looked into like the amount of calories you burn and stuff in a day's bowling. You bowl 25 overs in a day. You're running sort of 20 kilometers at sort of quite a high pace. You're moving around the field a lot. And one of the things that you just can't train for is that you bowl a spell and the rigor mortis that sets in. I mean, I start a day's play every day of my career feeling like an athlete. Once I bowled a 7-8 over spell, I feel like I've got to get the gym for it. Are you the same?
Oh man, I know the feeling. I do. You feel fresh. You feel good to go. You get through that first spell, and I've played against you where you've bowled long spells, and you get through an 8 or 9 over spell and you don't feel too bad, and then you just kind of maybe not do as much for the next half an hour to an hour, and you try and get going again, and you are just stuck, aren't you? It's like you've swallowed some cement, and your joints just seize up. And you just literally can't get going again. It's incredible, really, when you come, think about it. You feel fresh, you feel fit, and then you bowl one spell, and all of a sudden you stiffen up.
Yeah, and obviously, fellow all-rounder, you've always got to have your eye on the batting, so you're never really out the game. I mean, obviously, there's a few years between us, but when you actually look at Chris Woakes, the cricketer, the amount of cricket you've played in the last sort of 10 years or so, it is a serious amount of cricket. I mean, you've kept yourself in great nick because you've kind of become the go-to guy for England and obviously Warwickshire for quite a long time now. I mean, is there anything sort of that you do different to the other cricketers that are around in your dressing room that sets you aside from the others?
Not drastically, mate. I think I've tried to be as professional as I possibly can. I mean, we've all seen over the last, particularly my career, I've seen the game in general, the professional game, get more professional. We've always known that cricket probably hasn't been as professional as other sports. But I feel like it's moved in the right direction in the last 10 years. And I've just tried to focus on being the best I can be, mate, from a physical point of view. I went through a phase of lifting, quite heavy weights and stuff. And I picked up a few injuries, and whether it was down to that or not, I'm not sure. But I just found like a program which has worked for me, which is a lot more kind of body weight stuff. I try and get as much load and stuff through my legs. And as you know, as a fast bowler, you need to have, a strong lower half and core. And I try and focus on that really. And it's certainly helped me in the last couple of years. I think getting my nutrition right alongside that, eating well, and our nutritionist at the ECB with England Cricket has been fantastic with me. I was nowhere near eating enough probably throughout my early days, and now try and make sure I get enough calories on board. As you touched on, we burn a hell of a lot, and I just wasn't refueling enough. Which, getting older and wiser, mate, you figure out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, I mean that's the crazy thing. I can remember like you mentioned about I wouldn't say it was not professional, but obviously it was just 22 blokes playing cricket at the end of the day. There wasn't much science behind it. And I can remember, I'm sure you remember Stephen Jones, he was one of the first that started looking into protein shakes instead of sandwiches and various things that you'd have for lunch breaks, all that sort of stuff. He really got into the supplement side of things. And I can remember him going absolutely mental at the head coach because he said in his Welsh accent, "How am I meant to bowl a spell on a effing vegetable samosa like that?" And he was like, he threw this thing out the window, and it was like, actually, you're right, because we'd be like as bowlers, eating a curry and a load of samosas at tea time or something like that, and then like 5 minutes later, you're meant to bowl a spell. It was absolutely madness, but. Yeah, I mean, getting into cycling was the best thing for me. Understanding calories and what can fuel your body instead of like heavy carbs and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the game's definitely evolved, and you're certainly one of the front runners in terms of the physical aspects of an all rounder.
Try to, mate. But look, exactly that. I mean, being an all rounder, you don't really get a huge break, do you? So, we talk about being cricket fit, but you still got to be able to maintain that level of fitness and concentration over a long period of time. We go out, we bowl a spell, we bowl 20, 25 overs in a day, and then find yourself batting before lunch the following morning. You're constantly in the action, which is great. I mean, that's part of the reason why I've always tried to maintain being an all-rounder, because it keeps you in the game, but it's certainly hard from a physical point of view. And, you've got to look after yourself to try and maintain those levels.
Definitely, mate. So obviously with, again, 5 weeks into this weird sort of period we're all in, and you obviously mentioned you're enjoying elements of that. Is it finally given you a chance to sort of sit back and reflect on, what happened last summer, obviously winning the World Cup, but, as a cricket player and a fan myself, obviously cheering on from the lounge, you would have bounce from the World Cup into an Ashes series, into various other things that you'd have been doing, franchise cricket. Has this been a period where you've sort of been able to watch the repeats and realise how much of a special time you had that last summer?
Yeah, mate. I mean, last summer was chaos, and it dragged, but it also kind of just went by in the blink of an eye. It was a crazy summer of cricket, wasn't it? I mean, both for us as players and people watching it as well. I mean, to have won a World Cup win, and obviously how the Ashes went with Stokes' day at Headingley. It was just a ridiculous summer for England cricket, and to be a part of it's really special. And almost have had to pinch myself, and it hasn't been until now, really, until we've sat down and had a break and kind of recharged and had a look at it all and thought, God, I was a part of that, which is, still have to pinch myself, which is, for me, I still, every time I put on an England shirt, it's an honour, and, always try and play as if it's going to be your last game, because you never know when you're going to end. And it's exactly that, to be a part of both those days last summer, in particular the World Cup win. We had a Zoom meeting as players, or a chat the other week as when the rerun was on TV, and that's the first time as players we've actually sat down and kind of reminisced and kind of gone over it as a group, and it was great. Everyone got a drink, shared a beer, and kind of talked about the good times and watched the finishing stages of that game, which just ridiculous game, wasn't it? I mean, you've obviously played a hell of a lot of cricket, Trig, and it was literally the most bizarre game of cricket I've ever been. It was particularly the ending. It was just the things that happened. Obviously, Trent Bolt standing on the rope, the ball hitting Stokes' bat and ricocheting off for four. Those sort of things just don't happen in a regular game of cricket very often. And to do it in a World Cup final, it almost just made it destiny that it was going to be our day. And thankfully it was. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, that, like I said, playing many games of cricket that go down to the wire, I always watch the game as a bit of a cynical sort of person. And I just think you get to those death periods and, well, we call it a piss and dog. If there's a Chinese cut that goes for four, you always know that the team that gets the most Chinese cuts, I'm thinking, he's done a Chinese cut, they're going to win. No, nothing we can do. The luck for them today. But that moment now, there's two moments that really sort of like pinged out for me. I think it was obviously the dive to get in, the ricochet that went for the buzzers, as we call them.
Yeah.
That was one obviously huge moment. And then that last ball, because obviously Stokes, he played the most ridiculous knock and he was pumping the ball into the stands at will. And then he got that ball, the shin-eye full toss, which would be the perfect ball for him to dispatch. Yeah. But he'd already made his mind up, hadn't he, to go for the two. Yeah. And I was there going, oh, no, that was the moment. It's gone. Super Over's going to go wrong. I mean, it was just, it was.
Yeah, it was epic. That moment of Stokesy doing that, I mean, a lot of people, I spoke to him after it, and he's just in his mind. He said he had it in his mind at the time was, there was a game a few years ago where Bangladesh were close to beating. They were close to beating India, weren't they, in a World Cup game? I think it was a T20 or something. And he just remembers them kept losing wickets at the end. They kept losing wickets, and literally, if they'd have just knocked it around, they'd have won. And he just said to himself in that last, he said he wouldn't be able to live with himself if he got caught on the fence on that moment, obviously, and we'd lose the World Cup. He said, so I'd much rather have taken it to the super over. So, like he said, he'd made his mind up well before that ball had been bowled.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And my old mate Josh taking the bails off at the end, that was, we were all jumping around the house, because you don't realise, obviously England have been, one of the powerhouses of world cricket for a long time, but seriously light on major trophy wins, and that was the icing of the cake for a long period of time. But a period of time where you've been involved. I mean, describe what it was like. How do you feel now as opposed to those first few games that you played for England, or do you just take every game as an absolute bonus when you pull that shirt on?
A bit of both, Tree, to be honest with you. Because as I said a minute ago, I try and play every game as if it was going to be your last, so that you're obviously giving 110%. You're going to try and leave nothing out there. But then I think as you get older and you play more and you become a more experienced guy in the team, you kind of lose that youthful exuberance where you just go out there, kind of play with a bit of flair, and whatever happens. Whereas as you get older, you find yourself probably overthinking things a little bit more, and you start to realise what could go wrong, and those sort of doubts do slip into your mind. But I think it's just because you've obviously got more experience, and the game doesn't always work in your favour. So
what can go wrong.
Exactly what can go wrong. As a bowler in particular, we know a lot can go wrong, mate. So it's a bit of both. Look, I still feel every time I pull shirt on, it's an honour to play. But I still try and stay in the moment, and as you get older, you realise with that experience that it's not easy playing for England, and it's not going to be there forever either. So make the most of it.
Sure. And I read on, I think, one of the news channels this morning that one of the teammates and the stars of the show, Jofra, seems to have misplaced his World Cup medal. I'm assuming you've got yours safe and sound.
Oh, man. Safe and sound, yeah. It's kept in, probably the only room in the house which I'm allowed to have as mine, which is the study, so to speak. And that's safely in a place in there. Pride and joy. But how he's misplaced that, I'll never know. It's so Jofra, Just that he's so laid back.
Another one, isn't he?
Oh, exactly. But I'm sure it'll turn up.
Let's hope so. And in terms of like within the England environment, who are the guys that you gravitate towards? Are you the on the quieter side, or do you go with the louder guys in the dressing room?
No, I certainly sit on the fence, Trees. You know me, mate. Pretty quiet guy. I kind of keep myself to myself a little bit, but try and keep quiet. And I'm not exactly out there and loud and playing the pranks on the lads, but I'm in the middle. I'd say I have a flirt with a bit of both. Keep myself to myself occasionally, and then have a bit of banter and play a few laughs and jokes every now and then. But it's a really good dressing room to be in at the minute. When I first became an England player or first played my games for England, it was a tricky dressing room to walk into. Like some big players, big names, some big personalities, and it was a bit tricky as a youngster walking in. Whereas now it's such a welcoming environment. Got two captains, one in Morgs and Ruti, who are obviously world-class players, but great guys as well, and welcome players in. And we've got a really good culture going on, so it's a good dressing room to be a part of.
Yeah, I suppose the modern way now, even in your time in the England dressing room, there is very much a squad mentality now, isn't it? It's not just the 11 players on the field. I think maybe when I started my career, a county cricket club, for instance, it was basically all about the 11 on the field in the first team. But there's a rotation policy. Obviously, it would probably have driven me mad if I ever had that opportunity. But I know you fall foul of sort of a bit of a rotation thing with the all-rounder bowler positions. I mean, it probably comes with its good and bad things, but probably for the mentality of the dressing room, you are a squad now, aren't you, of probably 15, 17, 18 guys that can all play any given day?
Yeah, I think that's like you say. I think that's helped the environment, it's helped the team. It's certainly helped us drive forward as a group. The competition for places are high. Of course, you never want to miss out for being rested, but then it also shows that you're being valued. It's a great group to be a part of, and as you said, it's certainly a squad mentality. We had 15 players at that World Cup that obviously collected medals, but unfortunately, a few other guys that didn't make the final 15 could have easily been there, and they were almost such a shame that they couldn't be a part of it, really, because they certainly probably deserved it, having been a part of that team for the last 3 years or so leading into the World Cup. So it just shows it's certainly a squad effort, and I think that's the way. In first case it was Trevor Bayliss and Morgs, obviously Ruti with the test stuff, and now obviously with Chris Woakes taking over, they're certainly keen to keep that going and keep that mentality as a team.
Yeah, sure, and I'm sure you will. Moving away slightly from the England side into the domestic stuff, in particular the franchise stuff. Now, I had the experience a couple of times of being sold in an auction for about £3.50. Just describe what it was like selling for $500,000 in the IPL. I just want to know about this. It must have been amazing. Firstly, the first question is, what were you feeling? Were you nervous that you'd sell at all? And what was the first item that you were going to treat yourself to that pinged into your head when the hammer went down?
Well, you know what? First time round, I went in the auction. I didn't even think that I was going to go, and it was the first year I got bought by Kolkata Knight Riders, and it just pinged up on my phone when in the morning, because it was early morning and I was still in bed, and it pinged up on my phone that I'd been bought by these team, and it was in lakhs, and I was like, "Whoa, how much is lakhs?" I've no idea.
What's a lakh? I do the same.
Yeah, but I had to check it out, and I realised, I was like, "Wow, it's quite a lot of money, that." Which was a bit strange. And then second time round, obviously having been there before, I was kind of like a bit nervous that I wouldn't go at all. Having played the year before, I was kind of a bit nervous that I wouldn't even get picked up. And that year got picked, like you say, for about £500,000. And I was just like, that's just bizarre. And I was on the bus at the time in Australia with the lads, and everyone was looking at their phones, like the auction's on and all this business. And I was just like, obviously wanted to jump out my seat and give it a massive fist bump and all that sort of thing. And was just trying to play it as cool as you could possibly imagine. And yeah, just was like, "Oh yeah, cheers lads, yeah, cheers, thanks, yeah, cheers." Then got back to my hotel room and was like punching the air. It was like buzzing. But yeah, it was just, I mean, I suppose the first thing that came to my head about what I was going to buy was probably more what my missus is going to spend it on. But no, it's a scary feeling going into an auction, because look, kind of over it now, but I think, you don't want to go unsold, do you? It's not a huge ego thing, but you don't want that ego dent either.
Definitely, it's become, it's commonplace now. Like I said, I've been in a few auctions in different countries and sold, and you're buzzing about it. And like I said, I'm not very good, as you know, about playing stuff down. I'm like, "Whee!" Giving it the massive one.
Yeah.
But then obviously, the worst one for me was the 100 ball auction. Obviously being a reasonably decent 2020 cricketer, I had all my family to watching, my boys and stuff were watching the 100 draft, and I didn't sell, and it was like, oh my God, it was the worst. But then again, you realise that you're getting a bit of a dinosaur now, and it's a young man's game. But these are the things, because I was way ahead of the game. I had already bought a new car with the money as well. It was just like, I had to cancel that. BMW, cancel the order. Done. Sorry.
Oh, fair enough.
These things happen, mate. But obviously, you've had such success, recently in white ball cricket, in the IPL, obviously the World Cup win. But obviously, your first class record is phenomenal. You've obviously got bowler stats as a bowler, and you're one of the rare all rounders that actually could probably play in every county team as a batter as well. Is that something that you sort of pride yourself on, the red ball side of the game, that sometimes, on these sort of things get forgotten? It's all about franchise and World Cup wins. Your red ball cricket, your test match cricket, is that a massive passion for you?
Yeah, it certainly is. And I grew up, mate, playing and watching red ball cricket as it was the be all and end all. And test cricket for me still is I still see it as the pinnacle. I still see it as the hardest format. I still see it as the biggest test. And I want to play that as much as possible. I really want to prolong that test career as much as I can. And the red ball side of things is something which I still enjoy. Of course, there's a lot of rewards for white ball cricket nowadays, as you've touched on with the franchise stuff. But it's, for me, 4-day cricket was what I was brought up on and what I watched. 2005 Ashes, stuff like that. That lives in the memory for a long time. So for me, I'm really keen to continue that and play that as long as I possibly can, really. I love it. That's part, that test between bat and ball for me is, that really, gets you going, and really, I enjoy that challenge and that competitive side of that. That's, that format, really.
Yeah, sure. It's fair to say, I mean, the 1-day cricket with the 2 new balls, which kind of gives you a little bit of something at the start, but then obviously the ball will never reverse or get soft in any way, shape or form. I obviously played a lot of my 1-day cricket at Taunton.
Yeah.
And it's quite weird to stand at the top of your run saying, right, in this next spell, if I go for under 10 and over, that's good. I mean, it has got crazy, hasn't it? I mean, the amount of runs being scored, fair play to the batters, but the ropes get brought in when the TV's on. The Kookaburra balls we use in England now don't really swing or anything. I mean, you're right. I think I totally agree. When I'm about 65, 70, boring people in my local pub at how good I was at cricket, I'll definitely be talking about red ball battles with, people like, Wagon Akram or your new coach, Chris Silverwood, that used to try and kill me every time we played against Yorkshire. I mean, they're the memories that really stick in the old mind, don't they?
Yeah, and you say like that, and because 4-day cricket and 5-day cricket, it's a rare beast because that challenge and that competitive or that battle against a certain player, batter versus bowler or bowler versus batter, whatever it is, can last almost like a couple of hours. It can last half a day. You know what I mean? And there's no other sport in the world that lasts that long, and that sort of intense competitive nature can last for that long. And it's hard to explain to people that don't understand the game and don't get it. That's fine because it from the outside it doesn't look much, does it? And can be a bit tedious. But for us that have been a part of it, done it for a living, that's what you play for. You play for those battles, and if you get that little bit over the batsman, it takes you 2 hours or it takes you a full session, whatever it is. And you win that battle at the end of it, you really feel like you've got somewhere and you've won something, haven't you?
Definitely. I mean, you probably had a front row seat at some of the battles that me and Ricky Clark used to have. I mean, we used to just before we actually went on a tour together, we used to literally tear strips off each other verbally.
I used to enjoy the verbal battle you pair had rather than the cricket battle, to be honest.
I know, it was amazing, wasn't it? But that's the crazy thing. I reckon I got 3 or 4 years into my first class career, and I had like 3 or 4 people in my whole life that I genuinely wanted to chin. Clarkey was one of them, and then we went on a trip together, and then we became.
Sure, you're not the first person and not the last that wants to do that to Clarkey.
Well, maybe so, especially if he's talking about Tottenham. Gee whiz.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think you get that in one-day cricket, do you? The same, that sort of, because you've got nowhere to go, have you? You've got to afford, on day one, if you throw the towel in, you've got 3 days of being humiliated by that person or that team. It does separate the men from the boys, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I think the thing that people kind of forget as well with, and I'm just pick on football for one. I mean, I'm a massive football fan. I love football.
Villa, aren't you? You're a Villa man?
I'm a Villa man, yeah, unfortunately at the minute. But, I love football more than anyone. But, you come off at half time, you go to your session rooms, you don't see each other, whatever. You might see each other or whatever. You back out, you play the game, and then the game's done, fine, finished. Whereas with cricket, you see each other in the lunchroom. You see each other. Generally the change rooms are right next to each other. There's a lot of interaction that people don't see with cricket. I reckon it just adds fuel to the fire a lot of the time, doesn't it?
The way you've developed into one of England's most solid, best performers. It's been, as a fan, cracking to watch. We've had some nice little battles on the grounds, but it's been top draw watching you, especially. You can't help but watch those with a bit of a sense of pride with guys that you actually know quite well. Yourself, Joss, the rest of the lads did a great shift for the country. Hopefully we can get out there soon and all start putting on a show after this coronavirus. But for now, I will leave you. Thanks for joining us on the Clubhouse, mate. I hope you've had a nice time. And thanks for telling us about your awesome career, and good luck for the rest.
Cheers, Triggs, mate. Really enjoyed having your company. Hope you stay safe. Look after the family, and thanks for having me on, mate.
We will, mate. Just keep the clippers away.
Yeah, will do.
Good on you, Woakesy. And thank you very much for joining us for another edition of the Clubhouse. Again, if you like watching the shows, listening to some of the world's best sportsmen, click the subscribe button and follow the show. Cheers.